What's up, everybody? Johnston Jennings here
And Liliana Fidua.
with another episode of the Illuminary Panel, but not just any episode. What episode is this, Liliana?
Guys, we're closing out season one. This is our last
Season
episode
one
of season
is
one.
a
How
wrap.
exciting.
After this video, we're extremely excited to have this luminary with us today. We have so much to unfold in this conversation with Caleb. It will surely be impactful to you and on your journey as an entrepreneur.
And before we get started, make sure you guys follow us on all social media platforms at Luminary Panel. We would love if you like, comment, and share this video, and make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a beat as we continuously grow.
And thank you once again, Liliana. Without further ado, Mr. Caleb Paull. Caleb, what's going on, brother?
How are you, brother? Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Tell everybody about yourself and who you are, what you do, the whole nine.
Love it. Love it. Well, my name is Caleb Paull. I come to you from the beautiful and chilly state of Massachusetts, born and raised there, and I now live in Orlando, Florida, and call this my home. And I have the privilege of serving at a social club downtown Orlando called the Citrus Club. And it's a place where community leaders and business owners get together and build relationships and connect, collaborate, and create, all within a really awesome setting in a restaurant style, bar style setting. We have events each and every week that give these members and these people that are passing through the doors opportunities to collaborate with other like-minded professionals. And so it's a really neat space for me to progress in the things that I love to do, bring people together, host events, and build meaningful relationships. And so that's a little bit about what I do on a full-time basis. And then I am also the CEO and founder of an organization called the VIP Co.,
Yes,
which
sir.
is still in the works here. I'm really excited about it. I have recently launched my social media pages on that. And what that is really a lifestyle brand. It's a company with a vision to compel and equip people towards transformational changes in their relationships, and then giving them the time, the place, and the tools to do that. And so I'm looking forward to continuing to build on that by way of individual mentorship, group mentorship programs, and then different public speaking opportunities.
So now that you've been in all these networking spaces and you have witnessed people getting to know each other and meet each other and make a ton of different business connections, for people who are starting to get into the networking world, what advice would you give to them when they're entering these events for the first time?
I love that question. I found that there are a lot of people that I meet in the week-to-week events that are brand new to a career. Maybe they're young and they're just starting out in a career, or maybe working in a new business model. And so part of that is getting out and showing face and beginning to build their brand, or rebuilding their brand in some cases. And one of the things that comes to my mind is regarding follow-up and regarding reputation, because I think a lot of people lose sight of the fact that you only have one reputation. And so your reputation, your word, is really the most powerful thing that you have. And so when you're going out and beginning to go to different events and meet people and connect with people, it's really important and vital that you follow through with what you say you're going to do. And so as you begin going to different events, that you also take the necessary time to honor and respect the event host, understanding that there's a lot of time and effort that goes into putting together a successful event and bringing people together. People in those situations are likely well connected themselves. And so I think it's always a great idea to thank the hosts or the sponsors of an event, for an example, to really make sure you're paying credit where it's due and saying thank you for the time and effort that was put into having that event and giving you the platform to connect with others. think that's something that can easily be mistaken or be passed over, because you go, you're excited to meet people, and then you leave on a high and you have a stack full of business cards. But taking the time to really slow down and appreciate the people who put it together and made it happen is definitely something, even for me as someone who hosts a lot of events myself, that means a lot to me when people go out of their way to say thank you for the time, the resources, in some cases, finances that it takes to put on a successful event. But at the end of the day, it's just about doing it. You just got to get out. You got to do it, even if you don't know exactly what to do and how to do it and exactly what to say. I would encourage you to just go out and do it and to be authentic. Nobody's interested in another canned presentation. Nobody's interested in a script, right? Go out, be authentic, ask genuine questions, looking for genuine responses, and getting to know people and who they really are.
Yeah, that's very vital when it comes to networking and connecting with people and building relationships. Because, for example, this is how we built the Luminary panel, right? So I took a step of faith to go to a networking event, and I met people. And the first networking event, I actually met Caleb that kind of follow up with me, and then he kind of sparked all of this inspiration to continue to go to these networking events. So follow up is a very, very huge lost art because people don't know or understand a proper way on how to do it. And another thing is all of this stuff like networking is something that you have to cultivate over time, right? So let me ask you this. What are some daily or weekly practices that individuals can incorporate to enhance their self-reflection and self-awareness?
I really, really appreciate this question and the thought behind it, because some practices that come to mind is asking people that are close to you, people that you trust and you respect, to come alongside and to share their perspective on your strengths, your weaknesses, things that you do well, things that you maybe struggle with, or different challenges that you have, different tendencies, both positive and negative, that you have. And it's important that it's people that you trust and that you respect their walk, their life, and the input that they have. But I think it can be really easy in the context of relationship building, networking, all these different things, and building strong community. It can be really easy to lose sight of what's most important and to develop blind spots in your relationship building and even your own character development. So something that comes to mind in terms of general practices is to go to a few people that you trust and respect. And if you've never done this, then you absolutely need to do it. And if you haven't done it recently, I would highly encourage you, especially as you come up to the end of a year or the end of a quarter, to go to a few people afresh and put together almost like a character and behavioral assessment of sorts, where they are sharing their perspective on your strengths, your weaknesses. Just, you've heard of the SWOT analysis, right? And it's almost another flare. It's almost another angle of that. It's from somebody else's perspective, though. And if you can get that from a few different people that are involved in your life, maybe somebody that is closer to you and seeing how you and you're involved in a business community, then maybe you have somebody that's more on a personal family community type of thing, or maybe a church community, and you have these different perspectives of you. Maybe it's a parent or an uncle or a sibling, and you're going to have some really well-rounded advice on things that you can work on, ways that you can challenge yourself. And I use the words character and behavioral assessment and very intentionally, because at the end of the day, this is strengths and weaknesses, yes, but it's really about your character, who you are, and the perspective that they have. Because I found in my life that sometimes it has taken somebody else seeing something in me that I didn't even see within myself, both positive and negative, by the way. Things that I didn't believe within myself and my own abilities, but it took somebody else coming alongside me and saying, Caleb, I see this in you, right? I see you as a leader. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm not a leader. I'm not fit to be a leader. But it took somebody else coming alongside me to say, Caleb, you have what it takes. I see your life. I see the things you're doing. I see your behaviors and your characters in these different areas, and you're somebody who is a leader. That's just one example, but I think that really helps to expose your blind spots, and that's a practice that everybody should be doing on a somewhat regular basis, and almost holding yourself accountable.
Let's
No,
talk
I
a little
love
bit
that.
about that. Holding yourself accountable. What does that look like for you?
I think it's a continuation of what I just answered in terms of the people around you that you trust and you respect. There's definitely a sense of personal accountability, right? At the end of the day, your choices are up to you. The way that you choose to spend your time, the people that you choose to surround yourself with, the content that you choose to fill your mind with, whether that's music, movies, podcasts, entertainment, that's ultimately up to you. But there's also something to be said for the accountability of others, surrounding yourself with people that are going to tell you the truth. I have been extremely convicted over the past months in hearing a quote, and it said that most people today would rather be comforted with lies than to be hurt by the truth. And
Wow.
I thought that was really powerful, because there's been times in my life where I would have rather been comforted by a lie because I didn't want to face the reality about, again, character, behavioral flaws, challenges that I was having in my life, or things that I was working towards, even, right? Maybe it's a goal that I'm working towards. And there's definitely something to say for personal accountability and a sense of self-discipline. But how much better off could you be if you went to a few people, close people in your life, that you gave that access to you to say, these are my goals. Would you be willing to hold me accountable to these things and in this way?
Wow. That's really impactful, because I think, you always want to hear the easy things, right? Because those are easier to take in and understand and move forward with, but that's not always what's best for you. So I think that's a really cool way to think about it, because I think those tough conversations you need to have in order to move yourself forward in a lot of ways, because there are blind spots that each of us carry, whether it be in personal or business or whatever it may be, that you may not see of yourself, but somebody on the outside could look in and be like, you know what? You could be a little bit more organized, or you could do this, or whatever it may be. But something I may not see on the face value, somebody else could definitely interpret for me a bit quicker in that way. So I guess on that same topic of you reaching out to these people and being able to convert.
Good question. It started when I was in high school, right? I was in high school, and what you have to know about me is I'm homeschooled, and
No
I have,
way. I
yeah,
did not know that.
homeschooled,
How was that for you?
homeschooled
That's
with
like a whole
six,
different.
different world,
Yeah.
six siblings as well. So me and my six siblings
Wow.
were the students in our school.
That's
And
crazy.
growing up, it was funny because we, as siblings, often joke about the fact that we grew up under a rock. And in the earlier parts of our lives, we really did. And we had a lot of cousins. So those were really our friends, and the people that we did fun things with and made memories with were really our siblings and our cousins. It wasn't until later in my life and into my teenage years to where I really started to develop some friendships on my own, right? But growing up in that environment was challenging because, first of all, my parents separated when I was a kid, and when I was about 17, they divorced. And so that really threw a wrench into my life. And I can't imagine where I would be at that time. And then as the years went on, where I would be if I didn't have a mentor. And so when I was in high school, I asked somebody to mentor me. And as funny as it might sound, what that looked like for us was he would come by my house and pick me up after work, and his family shopping at Walmart. He would take me with him, and we would walk through the aisles, and he would do his shopping, and I would just walk with him and ask him questions and learn from him. And I would spend time at his house with his family and in his circles. And from a very early age, I started spending more and more time with older, wiser individuals. And I have continued on to this day to make a practice of that, to where most of my time, in terms of outside of just the kind of day to day, the people that I allow to have access into my life, and the ones that I allow to have influence in my life, are people who are older, more experienced, who have experienced more successes and failures than I have. And I think that has given me a tremendous perspective. And so starting off in high school and having that presence of a mentor, somebody who believed in me, who was constantly calling out the best in me, even though my perspective was masked by the hurt and pain of my upbringing and my parents separating, and just a lot of challenges there that we could get into another time. But it was having somebody in my life, and it still is to this day a practice of mine, where I I go to people that are older, wiser, more experienced for advice, especially on big decisions. But that's something for me in my journey of self-awareness, is surrounding myself with a couple of people that I make it known to them, hey, I I want you to call me out on my crap, right? I want you to let me know when I maybe speak in a way that is less than loving or gracious, or maybe it could be in a variety of different things depending on the person. But for me, when I moved down to Florida, that was when things really changed around when it comes to self-awareness, because I grew up in the North. People are generally more direct, people are generally more assertive, they're more aggressive, they're more passionate, and just a different regard for others. And so when I came down to Florida, having really only ever lived in more of a fast-paced, passionate, aggressive environment, I came down here and I had this drive and this passion that I didn't know how to harness. And so I would, and being in a sales environment, I would be the gentleman who slaps down a piece of paper and like, here's what I need, let's go. When can I have this done? And I had this, I quickly built up this reputation of almost steamrolling over people. And although it wasn't intentional, that's the way that it came across to the people that I was conversing with, being my team, right? People that I was working closely with in my sales role. And through the patience and the accountability of my mentor in that environment, I came to understand the way in which I was acting, even though my motive and intention was right, the way that it made other people feel. So the way maybe I carried myself or expressed myself in terms of tonality, in terms of body language, in terms of eye contact, that can make a huge difference in the way that other people receive what you're saying. Because you can say the right thing, but if you say it in the wrong way, there are times when you could do more damage than good by saying the right thing in the wrong way. And so I had to learn that over the course of 2020. When I moved here, I had consistent accountability, and with my permission, my mentor said, is it okay if I call you out like in the middle of a conversation? If you make these certain eye contact, if you go to that place with your tonality that it comes across as more demeaning and condescending, which in the North is very natural and normal and people don't think much of it. It's like, do I have your permission to call you out on that? And as hard as it was for me, because it was humiliating in a sense, because I desperately wanted to build strong relationships where people felt loved and affirmed and in my relationships, and that wasn't happening because of my body language, my tonality, and slowing down and taking time to listen and to feel and to understand. So long-winded answer, but that's a little part of my journey of how I started to think more about self-awareness and how it impacted my life.
Yeah,
No, I
man,
love
there's
that.
no such thing. There's no such thing as long-winded answers on the Illuminary panel, man.
Yes,
We get it
sir.
all out.
Appreciate that. That's better in that way. But I feel like within your journey with having that mentor, you did gain so many valuable information, like lessons, information, everything of that nature too. What would you tell, I guess, other business professionals or people who are just trying to grasp more into their own business or other businesses or things of that nature? What do you think is the best thing for them to do to find a mentor or go into those circles where the people there are a little bit above them, where they can learn that knowledge and seek out opportunities in that way? What do you think would be the best advice for them to find those groups of people and to seek out a mentor?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is a lot of people don't have mentors because they don't want the accountability. They're afraid of the accountability and afraid of the confrontation, perhaps they're afraid of rejection, that if they ask somebody to mentor or to counsel them, that they will say no, or that they won't have the time to do it. And so they refrain altogether from asking because they are afraid of the rejection. And so I say, first and foremost, you need to come to grips with the fact for your own self, for your own soul and sanity, that without the mentorship, without the counsel and active, again, that sense of accountability, without that in your life, you're holding yourself back. Because whether you like it or not, there are things that you are not aware of as one individual person, and the experiences you have and the things that you're learning. That's only one angle. So when you surround yourself with other people who can, again, call those things to light, bring those things to light, and talk through them, and have healthy dialogue and communication about them, you're stinting your growth. And I think about the comfort zone, right? With counsel, with putting yourself in different environments to network, to build these relationships, you have to come to grips with the fact that nothing good is going to come from the comfort zone. Mm-hmm. You have to get very, very familiar and very comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's you good. Have most likely heard the quote, if you're hanging around in a room of 9 broke people, you're likely to be the 10th. And if you're hanging around in a room full of 9 millionaires, you are likely to be the 10th. Mm-hmm. And the purpose of the principle behind that is you're a product of your environment. Mm-hmm. So you have to get to the point in your life where you are ready to take the next step. And I don't care if you're 16 years old or 62 years old, if you're at a place where you feel like you are either in a rut or you feel like you're coasting, that's not a good place to be. Because in life, and this is just all of humanity, you go outside and you look at the grass, you look at all of nature, things are either growing or they're dying. There's no standstill. There's no just coasting through life. If you're coasting through life, you are more than likely slowly drifting backwards. It might be a slow fade, but if you're not moving forward and progressing and learning in your journey and your career, you're slowly slipping backwards. And so you have to come to the point where you realize that, you believe that, so much so that it forces you to make those necessary changes. Because if I've learned anything in my past 5 years in sales and business development, it's that to get somewhere where you've never been, to become somebody who you've never been, you have to begin doing things that you've never done before. If nothing changes, nothing changes.
Yeah.
Right.
It sounds so simple, but if you just stop and think about it, of what are the things that I'm doing? How am I spending my time? Who are the people that I'm spending time with? The results that you have in your life right now are a result of the choices that you make, the people that you spend time with, and the things that you tell yourself.
Mm-hmm. That's good. So with a lot of what you're saying, Caleb, it resonates with what VIP is, because you and I have a relationship beyond just this. We have a friendship beyond measures, and I'm so grateful and blessed to have you as a friend. And you told me a lot about what you're accomplishing with VIP, and it aligns with what you're talking about. So let's open the floodgates and give them an introduction to what it is and what you're trying to accomplish when everything is like done.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this vision really starts back in high school for me, when I went through a time that most people do, where they're faced with this question of, what am I going to do when I grow up? How am I going to spend my time? What am I going to have as my career? Well, what are the things that I'm the most passionate about? Yeah. And of course, that has continued to develop over time. But I think back to when I was in high school and having a passion to pour into younger people and to help younger people in their journeys. And I think that is rooted from the different challenges that I've had. And as I've grown and matured and gained different perspective in this, I see how there are so many hurting people, young people especially, but it's really all of humanity in some way or another. They have baggage, they have hurts, they have wounds. And so for me, I looked at the younger generation and I said, man, I want to find a way to pour into the younger generation. And 5 years ago, I wrote in a notebook, VIP. And there's a couple of different meanings and some significance behind that name for me. The first is my family history is, my last name is Valancourt. and my great grandfather changed it to Paull. So on the bookends of VIP is Valancourt Paull. And right in the middle, the I stands for identity. So I have Valancourt, the identity, and Paull, right? A huge part of your identity is your name, your family, your heritage. And then everybody knows VIP is a very important person. I desire to be the kind of individual in my relationships that when somebody's in front of me and I'm in front of somebody, they know that they're a very important person.
Mhm.
I'm not on my phone. I'm not distracted. I'm all there for them, that they're the most important person in the world when I'm sitting and I'm with them, or if I'm on the phone with somebody. And then the real true meaning is vision, identity, and purpose. And the legal name of the company is the VIP Co. And the Co, of course, stands for company, but it also stands for community, collaboration, connections, communications. And so when I take a step back and I look at the vision of this organization, it really is to help people along with their journey. I was thinking about success a little bit earlier today, and there's so many different definitions of success, right? We can tie that to possessions, we can tie that to awards and recognitions and accolades. But when I think of success, I think of growth. I think, am I at a position in life where I'm growing, I'm moving forward, but more importantly than that, am I helping those around me to grow? And so that's really the heartbeat of VIP as a company, is to come alongside people in their journey, no matter where they're at, no matter where they've been, to help them to identify where they're going and to lock onto that, to help them to catch the vision for what can be, to lock onto their identity, to affirm their identity, and to foster that sense of belonging and that sense of growth within their identity. And then as a result of that, to start locking onto and living in your God-given purpose. That's the heartbeat of VIP, is to come alongside people in their journey and to build and develop them in their character, identify their value system, identify their environment, and to come alongside them again, with giving them the time, the place, and the tools to grow and to push them out of their comfort zone, and to make sure that they are being both compelled and equipped towards these transformational truths and these transformational changes in their life, in their businesses, in their relationships. And so again, as I mentioned briefly at the beginning, the way that we're going to do this is in three primary ways: through individual mentorship. If somebody would like to work individually with me, I would be honored for that opportunity. Number two, I will be continuing to have group trainings and group mastermind events. I've had the opportunity to do 3 this year and am planning my 4th and 5th, one of them being with CJ himself, which I'm really, really excited about. Yeah. So that's going to be on the power of networking and just diving deeper into that topic. And then the next one that is coming up in the next couple of months is developing passion and purpose in your relationships and kind of what that looks like. And then the third way that VIP will be operating is through public speaking opportunities. I've had several chances this year to either speak on panels or to speak as more of a keynote speaker at different events. I just got asked to speak at a all-day event in January here in Orlando, which I'm really excited about. Yeah, just got that a couple days ago. And so just continuing to spread that influence and be a voice of just positive influence, and helping people to realize that no matter who they are, no matter what capacity they're in, even if they're not in a leadership role, they have the opportunity to lead in the environments they're in. Maybe that's at home with their siblings or their parents or an uncle or a grandparent. Maybe that's at work with their coworkers and their peers. Maybe that's in their friends group. No matter where you are, you have the opportunity to lead that conversation, to lead by example. Maybe it's a sport. Maybe it's at the grocery store and you're having a conversation with the cashier or the bank teller, or the post office. You have the opportunity to lead no matter where you're at. And so I just desperately want people to understand that no matter where they're at in life, they are constantly downloading content into the lives of those around them, whether it be positive or negative. And so just taking the necessary time to really develop that and think through it and to dive deep. I'm so sick of the surface level, the superficial, the cliches. I'm just ready to go deeper in their relationships and to help people start thinking outside of the box and be more creative and more intentional in the way that they build their brands and build their relationships.
That's
Wow.
a phenomenal answer, man.
Yeah, I loved hearing about your journey for creating this company because it's so thoughtful. Like I feel like even with just the words and the acronym that you're creating and everything behind it is so intentional, which I feel like from what I've just learned about you through, this conversation, I feel like is kind of on the basis and the ground for what you're trying to build, which is so great to see that all come together. So within that same space, I feel like you are so sure and clear as to your vision and where you are going, which I think is one of the most important things when you are starting a journey or you are trying to take up a new hobby or profession or whatever it may be. What would you tell people who are a little bit confused or they're unsure as to which exact direction to go into, how to focus themselves and really make a plan to go in that direction?
That's a powerful question right there. The way that I would answer that is going to be 4 or 5 different things, and I'll make it brief. But I would encourage you, if you have not done this, or if you haven't done it recently, to get out a piece of paper and a pen, not your phone, not an iPad, not a computer, a piece of paper and a pen. There is neurological, psychological effects to using a pen and a paper. The way that it connects with your brain and the way that that information is transferred is much different and much more powerful being on a piece of paper. Write down at the top of that piece of paper, who am I? Who am I? Because early on in my life, the version of myself that I thought I was the version that my parents told me that I was. And that was an incomplete version, unfortunately. And there are a lot of people in that same situation where they take what their boss or their parents or their peers say of who they are or who they should be, and they run with it and they lock onto it. But you have to decide for you who you are. And then the next line, what do I want? What do you want? Do you want lots of money? Do you want to live near the ocean? Do you want to play a professional sport? What do you want? That could mean a million different things. In the world that we live in, that's part of the beauty. You get to decide. You get to write your story. And so write down in as much description as you'd like, what do you want? And then third, why do I want that? Because a lot of people have ideas of what they want, but they don't know why they want it. I want a Lamborghini. I want a house. I want this type of job. I want this, but they don't know why they want it. They don't have they're unclear on their why. There are hundreds of books written about this, your why. If you don't have a clear understanding of your why, who's to say that when things get difficult and when things get dark and when you're on your 87th no of the week in your role, that you're going to keep going? You have to have a clear understanding of your why. And then the next thing, the fourth thing, is what's preventing you from getting to what you want. So who am I? What do I want? Why do I want it? And what's preventing me from getting that? Is it a limited mentality, a limited mindset? Is it my environment? Is it the people that I'm surrounding myself with? Is it the content that I'm feeding myself, whether that be movies or negative music? It could be a myriad of different things, but you have to address that question of what are you filling your mind and your soul with? The content that you're absorbing on a daily basis, because it does affect you. Whether you want to believe it or not, it affects you. So you have to come to grips with what's preventing me from getting to that next level? What's preventing me from getting there? And fifth and final is what would motivate you to get it, to go get it? So what do you want? Why do you want it? What's preventing you from getting it? And what would motivate you to go get it? What would motivate you? And that's really an extension of the why, having clarity on why you do what you do. And that plays into all of life. Why do people grow up their whole life going to church, but they don't know why they go? They do all these things and they don't know why. They go to networking events. They don't know why. They don't have clarity of why they're going, who they're going to meet. And they certainly don't have clarity of what they're going to do after the event. There's no follow-up. There's no plan. There's no clarity. And so they fall behind. And so you have to come to grips with what would motivate me to go and get the things that I want that is going to get me to that end destination. And so that's really where I would start, is those 5 steps, writing them down on a piece of paper and thinking about them. I would bring that piece of paper to the couple of people in your life that we talked about earlier, those sources of accountability and mentorship, and ask them to look at it, to hold you accountable, to give you their thoughts and perspective on it. And that can be tough. That's vulnerability. That's transparency right there, is opening yourself up. But you have to make space for vulnerability. You have to make space for depth in relationships, because it's not just going to come. You're not going to wake up and just have depth in your life. You have to foster it. It's something that takes work, it takes effort, and it takes intentionality.
That's a great answer, man. That's a very, very impactful answer, because a lot of stuff that you hit on is the things that people get stuck at, especially in entrepreneurship, right? So, for example, like you said, I want to be a baker. I don't know why I want to be a baker, but I think that's something that I find interest in. Or I want to be a sewer. I like clothes, so maybe it's because I like doing this. So having those 5 questions and talking to the audience now gives you a platform, or it gives you the blueprint to be able to start the thing that you really want to start, because it starts with why are you doing a certain thing. And a lot of times it's an internal dialogue, or it's internal download, or a spiritual download, like I like to believe in. So let me ask you this, Caleb. How has your faith played a part on your journey? Because we share one thing in common, or a few things in common, but this in particular is our faith. So tell me your perspective on how your faith has helped you in this journey of entrepreneurship, self-awareness, personal development, the whole 9.
That's so good. In terms of faith, it's really easy to look at faith and to just automatically tie spirituality into that. And it absolutely is a very big part of it. But let's take a step back for a second and to think about faith. Each and every one of us put faith into practice every day, whether we know it or not. You have objects of your faith. The object of your faith could be a person. It could be a thing. It could be a job. It could be money. It could be the chair that you're sitting in. That's the object of your faith. You're sitting in it, trusting that it's going to hold you up to do what it was created to do, right? So when I think about faith, I think about, okay, what is the object of my faith? Well, for me, the object of my faith is a person, and his name is Jesus. But the way that faith has brought me through these different times is it has given me perspective. It's given me hope that when things are challenging, that when things are difficult, when things seem unclear, we talked a second about unclarity, a lack of clarity and vision of where you're at, who you're becoming. It can be so overwhelming sometimes. And it can be difficult to continue taking steps forward when you don't see the 3rd and 4th and 5th step in front of you. That first step sometimes is the most difficult for whatever reason. And so faith is something that accompanies my life, that even if I don't see 1, 2, 3, 4 miles down the road, I've got to keep driving. I have to keep moving forward and allowing God to direct me. Even God can't steer and direct a parked car. You can just pull off on the side of the highway and be like, I'm just waiting for this job. I'm waiting for that relationship. I'm waiting for that to happen. No. It doesn't work like that. Right. Faith happens from movement, from you taking, you hear, take the leap of faith. You got to take a step forward in faith. Everybody, regardless of their background, has heard a statement along those lines. But what is the principle behind that? The principle behind it is that you have to move forward. You have to throw yourself out there. You have to put yourself out there. Because a lot of people don't do it out of fear. They're afraid of failure. Maybe they're afraid, in some cases, I think people are afraid of success. They're afraid of what will happen if they succeed, if things start going their way, and they don't know how they'd handle it and what they'd do with it. but it is certainly fear of rejection, fear of failure. But failure can actually increase your faith.
Mhm.
Failure can actually make you stronger and more resilient. And you get to a point in your life where you almost appreciate failure.
That's
You
good.
almost appreciate challenging times. You almost appreciate the things in your life that are difficult because of the things that it teaches you, the
Yeah.
perspective that you gain as a result of going through those dark times, right? Like I think about my faith and I say, if I never knew darkness, how would I know God as my light? If I never went through a storm, how would I know God as my refuge and as my shelter? If I
Mm.
never went through loneliness, how would I know God as my comforter and as my friend and my companion? And so the narrative begins to switch, and you almost begin to appreciate and say thank you for the times that are challenging and difficult, because you know that what what is produced from that is actually patience. The
Yeah.
testing of your faith actually produces patience and long suffering and resilience. And so that's what faith means to me, is taking the step forward even when it doesn't feel like it. Even when you don't see the second and the third step ahead, you're moving forward in faith, trusting and believing that God is going to get you where you need to go in
Yeah.
the right time, in the right way, and not a moment sooner.
That's a very interesting approach to that answer because it's a very broad question, but the answer that you gave was very spot on because a lot of people don't understand that, or they don't connect that faith could be something that is brought to you daily in different variations. So, like you said, like in the chair that we're sitting in, I hope this thing don't break down on me because I would like to continue this
I hope.
interview. Because if y'all see me fall, I'm sure y'all gonna laugh. And then my faith in chairs is gonna change based off of one instance. And then you also mentioned that in due time, if you fail, you become more resilient. You become more tough, or you become tougher in situations where it seems like you're not going to be getting through it, but you end up getting through it anyway because you still have that increment of faith or that little bit of. So that's good. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I definitely think with those action steps too, I think a lot of people will see something in front of them and say, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that, and then not take those action steps that are needed and just placing an idea in a place where it does need a little push and a little, press in one direction. But I think having those action steps is so valuable because you have to do something
Mm-hmm.
to invoke or provoke something to move forward. So I think that's a great way of thinking about it. And same with those failures that do come, seeing the optimistic side of it and being able to push yourself even more forward, which I think in entrepreneurship or in anything in life, there are always things that come your way. But if that's the way that you see it and you handle it in that way, I think the world would be a much better place. So definitely people should take that word of wisdom for sure, because life is not always rainbows and sunshines for sure. There are always things that come around the corner that you're not expecting, but hopefully you can grow from it. So I think that was a great way to kind of unpack that as well. But this is the last question we always ask on the Luminary panel because it is our mission to serve the people listening to us. So what are some improvements that you believe we can make on the Luminary panel to make our podcast better?
Okay. All right. One thing that I love about what we just did is the interaction, right? I think it could have been a little bit more interactive, and that was because I talk too much. So that's not a constructive criticism on you guys, but I like the idea in the future of maybe having more of a living room setting where we're all in the same room together with a video camera on us. I think it could make it a little more personable and more genuine as opposed to over the phone. But this was just fine as well, and I undoubtedly trust that it will influence the listeners for the whole series of all the amazing individuals over this whatever we're calling it, the series. And just like the idea of maybe a living room setting in the future, I think that could be really neat and just special, right? And in that relationship building and the conversation could be even more of a.
In season 2, we're introducing the live interactions with our guests. So we're gonna build into like sit downs at coffee shops and the whole nine, and then also we're gonna go into doing like live shows where guests, our audience, could come watch us interact with the guests, and the audience will be able to interact with the panelists. So it's going to be a whole community based thing. So I'm glad you said that. You ended up opening up a can of worms for us.
You hit the nail on the head. Literally, that's what's
Exactly.
coming up next for us. So everyone should get excited.
Beautiful, beautiful.
But so Caleb, this was incredible. Thank you so much for giving us access into your life, your personal life. We got a little deeper than we thought, and we also didn't end up going over all the questions that we had, but it was perfect. It was spot on. I think, again, a lot of people will be impacted by this. So can you tell them where they can find you on your social media platforms, your websites, or whatever you have? Where can they find you, or do you have any other events that are coming up that you want to promote?
Yeah, absolutely. I've tried to make it really simple. I believe that as an entrepreneur, business owner, somebody who is out and building relationships, it is going to do you good to make it easy to find you, easy to reach you, easy to remember you, easy to do business with you, and easy to refer you as well. So the easiest way to find me on social media is the one Caleb Paull. That's my hashtag on Instagram, LinkedIn. I will most likely come up under Caleb Paull, Paul with 2 L's. And then for the VIP Co, it is the one VIP Co on Instagram. And then there's a page for LinkedIn and Facebook as well that are under the VIP Co. But really, really excited to share more about that with you in the future. And if I may share a kind of a closing thought.
Yeah,
Please
absolutely.
do.
Something that I want to leave you with is don't get so caught up in the rush of things and the busyness that you forget to enjoy and appreciate your journey.
Mm-hmm.
It can be so very easy. I am extremely guilty of this, at comparing my journey to those around me and saying, I'm not where they are. Yeah, but I'm where I am. I'm on the journey that I'm on, influencing the people that I'm influencing on the platforms that God has given me, and the circles that I have right now. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. With social media and all of these different things around us, with the culture, it can be so easy to compare yourself to other people's journeys and their track record and their success and accomplishments and all these things, and say, well, I'm not where they are, but you're where you are, and they're not where you are. You're not them, they're not you. We have so much to learn right now where we're at through the people, even right now in this conversation. We're present, we're in this conversation, and we're going to go and depart from this podcast, and we're going to interact with people. And tomorrow we're going to interact with people, and next month we're going to interact with people, and we're going to learn from those interactions and from the experiences that we have. But just be careful not to compare yourself with where other people are at or where they think that you should be. As long as you're taking those steps forward in faith, and you're putting in the actions, and you're surrounding yourself with the right people, and you're working on your mindset and your skill set, and you're growing and you're moving forward, you are right where you need to be.
Wow, that was amazing. I'm taking in all of these, different quotes and sayings you're saying. I'm like, okay, I need to keep these in mental tabs. So I definitely have loved hearing all of your advice and wisdom that you've given us today, because it's been absolutely incredible.
Absolutely. It's been an honor. It's been an absolute honor. Looking forward to see how the Luminary panel continues to grow and continues to just create opportunities for influence in the community, and even beyond that. Really, really excited for you guys.
Thank you. And make sure you guys follow us on all social media platforms at Luminary Panel.
And that's a wrap. Season 1 closed up, over with. Thanks, Caleb. Thanks, Liliana. Season 2 coming back better and bigger and broader. And he brought the balloons.
Balloon. He's going crazy. We're celebrating right now. That's exciting.
But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being a part of this. We're so grateful. We're so blessed to have you guys as our audience, as our target, because we started this with an idea and it's becoming bigger and bigger as we keep going forward. So, whatever you would like to see more of, or what do you would like to see in the next upcoming seasons, please, please, please reach out to us via email, direct message on Instagram and TikTok, or whatever the case is. And also make sure you reach out to Caleb because he has something massive, massive, massive with VIP Co. So, again, thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Caleb. Thank you, Lilian. And season 1 is a wrap. Peace.